So it's a pleasure to have you with us, and just wanted to get your sense of how we are actually doing. Look, we know that the cases have risen a lot. Every day it seems to be almost like a new record number of cases, but fatalities seem to be still well under control, I guess is the best way we can put it. What is your sense of how India is dealing with the coronavirus?
So I think as compared to countries in the West, we have done well. We must always remember that the cases will increase considering the size of our population. In absolute numbers, if we were to look at it in number of cases per million population, we still are pretty low. And I think we did a lot of things which were right to begin with. We had the lockdown very early, and that actually gave us time to prepare in terms of improving our healthcare infrastructure, whether it was really making COVID care centers, COVID hospitals, or COVID ICUs. At that point in time, we realized that one thing that is really going to make a big difference is having oxygen points. And a large part of India, this was something that was felt may not be there, especially in rural India or district hospitals. And a lot of attention was actually put forward in trying to provide good oxygen points and beds with oxygen 24/7 in these hospitals. We also then ramped up our ventilatory support. One of the challenges that we had in the early days, if you remember, was PPEs. There was a huge shortage of PPEs because of the fact that they were all being imported. They were all coming from China. And when you have a pandemic, there is always a demand from all countries across the globe for something which is coming from one area of the world. And gradually, I think we were able to get our Indian manufacturers on board. And now we have surplus of PPE. We are in a position of supporting PPEs. And the same goes true for testing. We started off with very little testing, very few labs, doing around 10,000 tests a day. Now we have more than 1,200 labs and we're doing more than 3.5 lakh tests a day. But still a lot more needs to be done, especially when we start looking at how the pandemic is behaving, going from metropolitan cities to smaller towns. And I think there is a lot of aggressive effort we need to do in terms of testing, in terms of containment, in terms of tracking, and especially in the tier 2 cities and in the rural part of our country. So we have done well, but there's a lot more to do.
Dr. Guleria, a lot of people are very excited about the talk about the vaccines that are coming, the Oxford vaccine and others coming. And people are now, I think, starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel to say, okay, the vaccine will be there 3 months from now, 5 months from now. What's your own take on the vaccine? And do you think the vaccine is going to be with us soon? Or do you think we'll figure out how to treat the disease itself in such a manner that maybe fatality will drop very fast even before the vaccine comes?
So I think in many parts of the world, the disease has really come down significantly and the fatality has come down. But to really eradicate it, because COVID-19 is going to be there for quite some time. It's not going to just disappear overnight. And therefore, a vaccine will help because it will actually help to protect, especially the high-risk group. Because if you look at the high-risk group, the elderly and those who have comorbidities, the mortality continues to be high in them. And therefore, if we really want to protect them, a vaccine for them really will be a game changer. It may not be that useful in the younger age group because there the mortality is very low, and it may not make that much of a difference. But I still think that it's a few months away that we can have a vaccine. The initial trial of the Oxford vaccine and the other vaccines have shown, the Moderna vaccine from US have shown good results in terms of safety. But we still need to look at the immunogenicity. How long does it last? Is it good as far as protecting us from the infection is concerned? So I think probably the vaccine will be available early next year if everything goes right.
Right. Last question, Dr. Guleria, about what's it now? 3-4 months into the pandemic, and after 120 days since the lockdown started, I seem to be almost seeing two different reactions from people. One is a group of people saying, forget about it, we can't now deal with the virus anymore, let's go out, get on with life, let's not think too much about it. That's one extreme. And the second extreme are people who are still living in a state of fear and almost in a state of panic about coronavirus, with that, if something happens, what's going to happen, the issues of stigmatization. What would be your message to people who are watching this? How should they view coronavirus? Obviously, they should take basic precautions, wash their hands, wear masks, social distance. That's obvious, I think, and that should remain obvious. But what else? What other advice would you give to people?
So I think we still are in the middle of a pandemic, so we have to be cautious. I do agree with you that there are a lot of people who just have got really frustrated because it's really not the life that they would like to live. But I think it's just a few more months, and people should be a little bit more patient because currently the number of cases are increasing. And although the younger age group feels that if they can go out, even if they get COVID-19, it's going to be a mild illness. It's important to remember that many of them can bring it to their house, and you may have elderly there or people with comorbidities, and it can cause a serious illness to them. So I think we still need to be very, very cautious, especially in areas where cases are increasing, but also in areas where there is a decline. Sometimes I've noticed that people feel that now the number of cases in our city has come down. That means we can really forget about wearing masks, we can forget about social distancing. And that has actually led to a resurgence of cases or a spike in the number of cases in that city. So as the lockdown gets lifted, the responsibility of each citizen becomes much more in terms of social distancing, in terms of maintaining all the precautions that we've been sort of propagating for the last few months, and also protecting the high risk group. Because if we want to keep our mortality down, then we have to make sure that they are protected from getting COVID-19 till we have a vaccine.
All right. Randeep, Guleria, thank you so much, sir, for joining us. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Thank you.